The discovery of gold in California in 1848 set forth a stampede like no other. An estimated 300,000 from around the world flooded the state, causing towns like Auburn, Jackson, and Placerville to spring up overnight. When Chinese immigrants were muscled out of mining camps in Sonora, they settled in Camp Washington, 15 miles away. Later renamed Chinese Camp, the town swelled to a population of 5,000. In 1856, two factions of Tongs, members of Chinese secret societies, engaged in a historic conflict involving thousands near Chinese Camp. On this episode of History Hunters, Jeff and Sarah explore the legend of California's Second Tong War and the location of that historic battlefield.
I found this history on Chinese camps just outside of Jamestown up here, just up the hill. But the Chinese immigrants had a battle up there on September 26, 1856.
Do they have reenactments up there?
No. This war, it was called one of the first Tong Wars.
Wait, they really fought with tongs?
No, they weren't using like spaghetti tongs.
What's a spaghetti tong?
It's what you scoop spaghetti up, right?
I thought spaghetti things.
Or a salad tong. No, these, I guess there were some factions of Chinese laborers who came over here. And, like every culture, they had divisions and battles. Well, this one apparently happened. This one apparently happened when it involved gold prospectors on the Stanislaus River. And one of the camps rolled a boulder on the other camp, and they refused to move it, and then that started this war. There's a marker up there, where we can see actually where it took place. You want to go up there?
Sure. Who's Tong?
You keep getting up on Tong. There's no Tong.
If it's the Tong War,
yeah.
Usually Tong means something, right? Or refers to someone. Or some time.
Well, let me read this to you.
So if they're not fighting with tongs, and Mr. Tong didn't start the war,
well,
Jeff needs some help. Tong is Chinese for hall or gathering place, but in California it referred to Chinese secret societies or fraternal organizations. While Tongs were mostly social clubs, some Tongs engaged in gang warfare, rivaling for control in Chinese communities. Public challenges were not uncommon, and in Chinese camp, the Sam Yap and the Yan Wu companies rivaled for dominance.
One account says there were 1,200 warriors on one side and 900 on the other, and that they decided to not use...
They fist fought, or what?
No, they actually called for the blacksmiths to build swords and spears. That's what they were going to fight with. Guess how many people died in this whole skirmish? 4 people.
What, they just couldn't kill each other, or what? I don't understand.
I don't know. Yeah, let's go. Let's check it out. We're gonna find the remains of the Crimea House.
Crimea?
Yeah, it was
Crimea River House?
Do you know that when the Chinese first came to California, they weren't treated very well?
How'd they get here?
Have you ever heard of a slow boat to China?
A slow boat to China or from China?
Well, see, if they go both ways, see, that's how they came. You think they swam?
Here, why'd they come here?
Well, they came here. America was established at that time, but they also...
Oh, so they were coming to visit, or they were coming to claim?
They were coming to live and work. The gold rush changed everything in California. caused a lot of people back east to want to come out here and make a fortune. Well, they found out that panning for gold and sluicing for gold was a very difficult way to make a living, or they found other jobs like storekeeping or freighting.
Thousands of Chinese immigrants became the essential labor supply for the building of the 1,900-mile transcontinental railroad linking Omaha and Sacramento. Work began in 1863. The most arduous of tasks, such as dynamiting tunnels through Sierra Nevada rock, fell to the Chinese. Diligent workers, Chinese laborers earn less than their white counterparts, but could save over $20 monthly after paying for room and board, a fortune by Chinese standards. The first Chinese hired by the Central Pacific Railroad Company, 21 in all, arrived in 1864 to clear rock for the Dutch Flat Donner Lake Wagon Road necessary for the delivery of construction supplies and labor. By late 1865, 3,000 Chinese and 1,700 white workers were employed in construction. Their work ended with the completion of the railroad on May 10, 1869 at Promontory Point, Utah.
The Chinese, like a lot of immigrants, were not welcome. They were seen as outsiders. But this is kind of interesting. This one report says that there were so many called Lim, Chu, Choi, or Hong that it became something to describe them as this: blind Chinaman, squint eye, lame one, flat nose, and many others.
So they were civilized enough to choose a name for themselves, and the white people were the immature idiots that flat nose, slant eye.
They were civil for the most part. They were honest. But this particular battle is interesting because it almost sounds like it was a joke. There was more preparation for this battle than the actual battle that took place. So I don't know. With 4 casualties, I'm not sure how serious they were about fighting each other. The white settlers were egging them on. They wanted to see this battle take place. According to this, the Chinese did not care for the American neighbors' whiskey nor their morphine, which was equally easy to purchase. But you know what the Chinese were into?
Hash?
Opium. They had the opium dens where they all get around and get high. Most cities in California had a Chinatown, and Sonora had theirs, but apparently the white people pushed them out. And there was mining going on, and they pushed the Chinese out. Chinese came to that spot called Chinese Camp, where there was gold in the soil, but they had no river. There was no water to wash the gold away from the regular dirt. So they had to cart the dirt onto wagons to a 2-mile bar on the Stanislaus River where they washed it out. The white people started finding out that there was some gold.
I think I want a drink. I need a large tea too, because I don't have anything to drink.
561, thank you.
So you had a sweet tooth today, apparently.
Yeah.
Having to endure historical hunts with me makes you have to treat yourself
getting my
to something.
system back on track after vacation when you can't eat normally kind of sends your system fluctuating, I think. Well, not only that is I'm a female and hormonal, so.
You're female?
Well, I hope so.
I
You don't know this?
I didn't notice.
Ooh, that's kind of weird.
Just teasing.
How have you not noticed?
I've got my own drink.
I got tea coming.
Ice cold Diet Coke.
No, thank you.
Nectar of the gods.
Hot, hot, hot.
Chinese built walls all over this part of the country. Cheap labor. I think this may have even been before barbed wire was invented. Definitely before Diet Coke was invented. I don't know how they survived.
I don't get to enjoy it. driving and they can't eat my ice cream.
We're almost there.
Go this way?
Yep. Pull over.
What?
One of the monuments I wanted to check out is like right behind us. It just went. What's it say?
Due to water and terrain, pioneer trails and wagon roads covered at this point. First in to accommodate travelers was opened here by Procter and Company in June, something 1816.
It's believed that the forgotten settlement of Green Springs is the locale of the short story of Sappho of Green Springs, written by famous author Bret Harte. From 1854 to 1855, Harte taught school in nearby LaGrange.
We are having so much fun.
Why is this exciting?
I don't know. Isn't that exciting? This was a house. Well, it was a bar, a restaurant, rooms and stables.
Not this.
This is where the house was, right here.
With overnight accommodations, restaurant, bar, and livery services, the Crimea House was a welcome stop for miners and freighters. Originally the Kentucky House, the stop was established by Kentucky lawyer James Wallace Carrick, who came to California in 1851 for gold mining opportunities. Finding Chinese camp appealing, he returned home to gather up family and belongings. With 9 wagons and 150 head of cattle, his 40-member party crossed the rugged Sonora Pass in 1853. He sold the ranch in 1856 and retired to Collegeville near Stockton, where he died the next year.
My understanding is that the war took place over here, opposite the Crimea House.
Now where all the chicken houses or the turkey houses?
Probably, that's a flat area.
Ew.
Over there in the field is a stone corral that they say was built by the Chinese. It's round. We can't go over there because it's private property. So if history is accurate, this is the area where the first, or maybe the second, Great Tong War was staged.
California's first Tong War occurred in Weaverville in 1854, where thousands fought. Conflicting accounts place the number of dead between 7 and 26 and wounded between 20 and 60.
Anywhere between 2,000 and 3,000 Chinese had prepared for battle here.
Combatants carried long pikes, butcher knives, and tridents to battle. Early-day Chinese camp resident James Hanley noted the Sam Yip Company purchased 150 muskets and bayonets in San Francisco and hired 15 drill instructors at $10 per day, along with all the food and whiskey they could handle, to teach them how to fight. The 15 white mercenaries painted themselves yellow, donned Chinese costumes, and simulated ponytails made of horsehair in mocking depiction of the Chinese. After shots were fired, the woefully underarmed Yan Wo beat a hasty retreat. Casualties were light, but costs staggering. The Sam Yap reportedly spent $40,000 to obtain victory, while the Yan Wo spent $20,000 in defeat.
And it was all about a rock that was rolled on one of their claims, and their party would not remove it, and that led to war. They say that it was a lot of preparation for a very short war. They kind of went into it half-hearted. The preparation was a lot longer than the battle. I don't know what kind of war that is, but it's the way it is. So listen at this. Captain Ayers Tuolumne County told the spectacle when the 1,000 or so Chinese, accompanied by most of the miners of the vicinity, left Chinese camp on the 4-mile journey to Crimea House. So it would have been on this road right here. And this is what he said: there is no discipline nor order. Everybody marched as he pleased or ran about hooting and shouting. Chinamen on horseback hovered around the flock, and it looked like a band of cattle being driven. According to this, one man was killed, one wounded, one who was bayoneted. He was carried from the field as they carry a hog, his pigtail and heels tied to a pole. Chinese camp school with a Chinese design built into it. This looks like an old hotel.
Only one story.
Find anything interesting over here? No, it says no trespass. Look at these old bricks and stuff.
I just don't want to get in trouble.
Ah, some old bricks and stuff. Look at this old brick building over here. It's got the iron doors on it.
It's got circular stuff.
Old doors. Wow, these walls could only talk.
If they jump, now I'm here. You shaded my son.
What?
You said if these walls could talk.
That makes you wonder what kind of people live here. Now that's a 2-story hotel. It's got to be. Seems like they've decided to preserve history here, but really just leave them standing. They're not doing anything with them. No trespassing. Seems to be the theme around here. Keep out and trespassing signs.
Oh, there's a big dip in the road.
There's a lot of buildings here that are just standing and nobody's doing anything with them. But that one's got a plaque on it. Right there. Eddie Webb ran a stage from Chinese camp to Coulterville, the Groveland area. But doesn't say what this building's all about. Walking over here from Main Street to this historical marker that probably the clampers put up. They put up all these markers in California. said anything on it.
Jeff drops by Chinese camp's only store for directions to the cemetery.
So believe it or not, there's a Chinese lady running that store. Chinese camp.
There you go, without putting your seatbelt on again.
I know. Kind of dumb that way.
Oh, how do you get in there?
Oh yeah, good question. Yeah, just go. We'll find it. I'll open the gate. Just a lonely, windswept cemetery on top of a hill here. Chinese camp. 1905, native of California. Like anybody cares about this place. $1865. Holly and Marshall Sherman. What an eerie place. It just goes on and on and on.
Jeff is surprised to find no Chinese graves.
Chinese camp is a mere shadow of the bustling gold mining town of the 1850s and 1860s. Time has erased most of what was here, including the 5,000 inhabitants of its peak years. According to the sign posted outside of town, 150 people live here, give or take one. The ground has an eerie feel, haunted by the memory of souls who devoted themselves to satisfying the thirst for riches. What they built here has barely lasted. Over the years, I must have rolled down Highway 120 through Chinese camp hundreds of times en route to Yosemite without stopping once. On this first visit, however, we were left with more questions than answers about the Tong War and the early Chinese settlers. Many of the details are lost to history, but we do now appreciate Chinese camp's rich past and its early settlers who worked so hard before passing on so long ago.